Yes, I am Damo and you're watching Fabric of the Game, and today we're going to be exploring quite possibly one of the greatest comebacks in football in history as we explore the rise and fall and rise again of Umbro. If you grew up in the 80s, 90s and early 2000s, the chances are that your football childhood will have been shaped undoubtedly by Umbro. They're an iconic footballing brand. And then during this period, they were that powerful that the likes of Puma, Nike and Adidas were arguably trying to play catch up to Umbro. But before we get into Umbro's fall from grace, let's have a little look at Umbro's history. Umbro was set up over 100 years ago by two brothers, Harold and Wallace Humphreys, who set up the company in the back room of a pub in Mobberley, Greater Manchester, and the company quickly rose to prominence, supplying the majority of the sporting kits, not just for football but for rugby as well. During the war, there was obviously no big sporting events, and Umbro had to switch from making sportswear to making military clothing for the soldiers on the front line. So they were part of the war effort during this period. But it's the post-war Umbro that we're specifically interested in. Because after the war, Umbro started to shine once again, and even brighter than they did before. And Umbro is so iconic as a brand in this country that they produced 15 of the 16 football shirts for the 1966 World Cup winning football team. And that's arguably, well, not even arguably, that's the most iconic sporting moment for football in England. I've no idea who made the other shirt. Maybe it was Donné Sports, or maybe it was the goalkeeper top. But it just goes to show how pivotal Umbro has been in shaping English football. Once kit sponsorship rules were relaxed and teams could start putting things on their shirts, that's when we saw the first version of the Umbro Diamond, or the Umbro Double Diamond as it's known today. And that's when Umbro really started to solidify itself as a household brand. By the time the Premiership starts in the early 90s, Umbro has such a foothold on football kit manufacturing that they supply over half of the kits in the Premier League. Just a cursory look at some of the football kits Umbro has produced tells you all you need to know. Numerous Manchester United kits, including the 1999 Treble winning football shirt. Numerous Chelsea kits, Manchester City, including the 2011 FA Cup winning side, numerous Everton kits, including the 1995 FA Cup winning shirt, Tottenham, Sheffield Wednesday, iconic looking kits. But it's not just English teams and English leagues that Umbro had a foothold in, they were also big on the continent too. Supplying the kits for Rangers, Ajax, Inter Milan. And this is just a small list. I could be here all day if I wanted to. But they were big on the international scene as well, supplying many national teams, including the England national kit, 1994 World Cup winning Brazil shirt. It's an iconic shirt. But it wasn't just football kits that Umbro were famous for. They also created football boots as well. Now, I'm a stickler for classic football boots, none of this pink football boot nonsense. My two favourite boots are the Adidas World Cup and Puma King, but I would arguably put the Speciali in the mix with that. It's a classic football boot. And it wasn't just worn by the likes of me, chasing a football around on Sunday League and not doing a very good job of it. Alan Shearer wore the Speciali, and he's the all-time Premier League goal-scoring record holder, as we all know. But it wasn't just Shearer. Michael Owen, David Beckham in his early years, and Roberto Carlos, they all wore Umbro football boots. But it's not just boots and kits. Boots and kits. Boots and kits are boots and kits are boots and... Umbro also made training clobber as well. Now, if I think back to my childhood, and the thing that, is the pivotal piece of kit for my footballing childhood, it's not necessarily a football boot or a shirt, it's actually the Umbro training smock. It's a classic training drill top. In fact, it's that special to me in my memory that I would buy one now. if I could find one for less than £100 that's not been rinsed by some hipster in Soho. Umbro were massive. They were the dominant force in football. So where did it all go wrong? Nike acquired Umbro in 2007 for £280 million. Nike allegedly bought Umbro because they wanted to become a major player in the footballing landscape. And the way that they pitched it at the time was by partnering with Umbro and acquiring Umbro, that would enable them to have a greater reach and they could push the Umbro brand and the Nike brand together. But what actually happened was a classic asset strip. But this time it wasn't training grounds or stadiums or players that were being stripped. It was actually Umbro's core contracts. Slowly but surely, Umbro kits started to be shifted over to Nike. Most notably the Manchester City kit, at a time when Manchester City were pivoting from being a smaller football club, no disrespect, to a global powerhouse. Then it was the England national kit. It started to look like Umbro were going to be consigned to the shadows, the bargain bins of Sports Direct, the new Donné Sports if you like, and it was going to be Umbro socks for Christmas. Nike subsequently sold Umbro for £140 million. That's half of what they paid for it. And Umbro was bought by the Iconics sports brand, which is a brand conglomerate that has lots of different brands placed all over the world. But interestingly, slowly but surely, something started to change. Now, I don't know about you, but my identity is shaped by football and music as well. The two go hand in hand. And I'm shaped by the Manchester music of the Hacienda, Factory Records, Stone Roses, dare I say it, Oasis. I know I should probably broaden my horizons. And what happened was, one day I was searching for a Factory Records t-shirt because it's like supporting your club. You want to wear your music t-shirts as well. And I found something and it piqued my interest. It was an Umbro versus Factory Records t-shirt, a football shirt. And I was like, that's decent. The colours were mint, the logo was mint, and it was a new way of representing the music that I'm into, but in a football fashion. And I thought to myself, I've got to have that shirt. It was limited edition as well, so I snaffled one. But it said something to me. And what it said was, Umbro are back. And this time, it wasn't just about the football shirt and the boots and the training gear. They'd captured something different. They'd tapped into the zeitgeist of football and culture with collaborations with designers in the UK, Italy, Australia, America. But it's not just fashion designers they'd teamed up with. They'd teamed up with iconic brands to capture the imagination of football fans. Brands like Factory Records, like I've said, I'm wearing it today. New Order, check out the World in Motion t-shirt that they've done for the Summer World Cup. Pretty Green, Red Bull Culture Clash. Oh, and I forgot, the boots are back as well. Perfect for those of us who don't want eye-dazzling pink boots. So when I resurrect my footballing career, when I join the Vets team this year, I'll probably be copying a pair of Specialis and running away with my hand in the air when I score an own goal. In fact, I'd be prepared to put my head on the chopping block here and not only declare that Umbro are back, but Umbro are hip. That word is just awful, isn't it, hip? But they are. They're the cool kid that's always been on the block. You know, they're appealing to people on the terraces, but also the hipsters in Soho. Umbro aren't just back producing the same old football shirts and the kits that they had before. They're appealing to a much wider demographic, and that's important to recognise. It's also important to recognise that Umbro hasn't forgotten its roots. They're back producing football kits again. In fact, they've probably been producing football kits all the way through this period, but now football teams and clubs are starting to take notice again. Sheffield Wednesday are about to launch a new Umbro kit. And in an ever-changing footballing landscape, with hydration breaks and an obsession with more money, more, how can we get more? I'm here for it, because Umbro didn't just make football kits, it made football feel like football. Make sure you let me know what your favourite Umbro kit is in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe and share as well. I am Damo. This is Fabric of the Game, and I'll see you all next time. In a bit.